I remember Agassi.
60 career titles, 8 Grand.
In the US Open in 1988 and followed up with another semifinals to be not so much of a successful year for Andre.
Time. However, beyond the awards and fame, life was not that kind to him.
For their US Open showdown, Agassi destroyed Pete Sampras after he revealed
this relationship.
We listen to each other, we respect each other's opinions.
Andre's personal life made Andre candidly mentioned in his autobiography that he struggled with drug.
I have played against players who were faster. I have played against players who hit harder. I have played against players who were smarter tactically and players who were mentally stronger in the biggest moments. But I have never played against anyone who made me feel the way Andre made me feel. Like I was standing in the wrong place on every single point. Like no matter what I decided, before the ball was hit, I had already made the wrong choice. That feeling is difficult to describe to someone who has not experienced it. It is not panic. It is not confusion. It is something quieter than that. It is the slow realization that the court you are standing on belongs to someone else. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. Andre Agassi saw the ball differently from every other player I ever faced. I do not mean that as a figure of speech, I mean it literally. By the time most players have recognized what kind of ball is coming and decided where to hit it back, Andre had already processed all of that and was already loading up for the shot. The speed at which his brain worked on a tennis court was unlike anything else in the sport, and the result of that was simple. He took time away from you. Time you did not think you had to give. Time you needed to recover, to reset, to breathe. Andre took it all, and he did it so naturally, so effortlessly that you did not even fully understand what was happening until you were already 2 breaks down, wondering how the set got away from you so quickly. I want to talk about the return of serve first, because that is where matches against Andre were usually decided before most people watching even understood what they were seeing. He stood closer to the baseline than any serious player had any right to stand. Against a big server, that position should have been impossible. Against someone like Pete or Ivan or Goran, it should have been suicide. But Andre made it work because his eyes were faster than the serve itself. He read the ball out of the hand. Before the toss had even reached its highest point, he had already started making decisions. And by the time the serve was crossing the net, he had already shifted his weight and loaded his racket, and the return was on its way back deep and heavy before you had finished your service motion. I changed my serve pattern completely against Andre. I changed the pace, I changed the placement, I changed the spin, and he adapted every single time. That is when I understood this was not something you could solve with tactics alone. The ground strokes were the other thing. Both sides, people talk about the forehand, but the backhand was equally dangerous, and in some ways more so, because players tend to test the backhand first, and Andre punished that assumption completely. He hit both sides flat and early, and with so much pace that the geometry of the court changed. Angles that should not have existed from where he was standing suddenly existed. Balls that should have been sitting up nicely for an approach shot were already past you before your feet had moved. I remember one match specifically where I felt I had a comfortable rally going. Neutral ball, no real danger. I was constructing the point the way I had planned. And then Andres stepped around his backhand, hit an inside-out forehand that went to a part of the court I had not protected because I did not think he could reach that position in time. He could. He always could. That was the thing. Whatever you thought was safe against Andre was not safe at all. Here's something honest that I have not said publicly very often. I was a better clay court player than Andre for most of our careers. On that surface, with those rallies and that physical grind, I felt comfortable. I felt like the conditions were in my favor, and I still found Andre on clay deeply uncomfortable to play. Not impossible, but uncomfortable in a way that other opponents on clay never were. Because even on that slow surface, even in those long rallies, Andre was still taking the ball early. He was still hitting it flatter than anyone else. He was still ending points on his terms rather than waiting for you to make a mistake. On clay, against most players, you can afford to rally. You can afford to be patient and build the point over many shots. Against Andre, even on clay, the point was never fully safe until it was over. He could end it from anywhere at any time, and you never stopped being aware of that. There is a version of Andre Agassi that I think gets overlooked in most conversations about his career, not the flamboyant young player. Not the image, not the controversy. The Andre of the late 90s and the early 2000s. The older Andre. The one who had been through everything and come back. That version of him was actually more frightening to play than the young version had been, because the young Andre had the physical gifts, but the older Andre had the physical gifts, and the knowledge and the experience and the desire that comes from knowing how close you came to losing everything. I played him when he was past 30, and he was better to compete against than most players I faced at their absolute peak. That is extraordinary. That does not happen in sport very often. A player who becomes more complete, more dangerous, more difficult to beat as they get older. That was Andre. The mental side was something I thought I understood. I was mentally strong. I had been in major finals. I had won important matches under pressure. I knew how to handle the big moments. And then I played Andre in a tight third set with everything on the line, and I discovered that there was a level of mental performance I had not encountered before. He did not just stay calm under pressure. He became more precise, more decisive, more dangerous. The bigger the point, the better his decisions. The more critical the moment, the more accurate his ground strokes. That is the opposite of what happens to most players. Most players under extreme pressure tighten slightly, make slightly worse decisions, miss slightly more balls. Andre went the other direction entirely. He got sharper, and if you were not prepared for that, and I was not prepared for it the first time it happened to me, in a real match it felt almost unfair. Like the rules had changed without anyone telling you. The crowd loved him, and that was part of it too. Every tournament he played was his home tournament in a sense. The people watching wanted Andre to win. They wanted the drama and the personality and the story that came with him. And he fed on that in a way that was completely different from how Jimmy fed on the crowd, or how John fed on it. For them, the crowd was energy, raw energy they could convert into aggression. For Andre, the crowd was belief. It confirmed something he already knew about himself, that he belonged, that this was his stage. And when a player believes that completely about themselves, it shows in the way they hit the ball, the way they move, the way they make decisions in tight moments. You could feel it across the net. This person does not doubt himself. Not here, not today. I want to say something about what Andre represented beyond just the tennis. Before him, the image of a tennis player was very specific. Quiet, conservative, controlled. Andre walked onto the court, looking like nobody who had ever played the game before him, and every establishment voice said it would not work, said the attitude was wrong, said the image was a distraction, said he would never win the things that mattered. And then he won everything, every single major, every surface, career, Grand Slam, Olympic gold, #1 in the world. He did it his way completely, and he proved that there was more than one way to be great. I respected that even when we were competing fiercely against each other. The game became bigger because of him. More people watched. More people wanted to play. More people believed that you could bring your whole self to a tennis court and still win. That is a contribution that goes beyond any single result. The last time I played Andre seriously, he was near the end of his career, and I was still in mine. And I noticed something that I had never noticed before in all the years we had competed against each other. He was enjoying it. Not performing enjoyment, not showing the crowd that he was having a good time. Actually genuinely enjoying the competition, the rallies, the problem solving, the back and forth of two players who knew each other completely trying to find something the other one had not prepared for. I walked off that court after losing, and I felt something unusual. Not frustration, not disappointment, exactly. Something closer to gratitude, that I had been part of an era where that man was competing, that I had been forced to be better than I would have been without him. That the sport had given me years of matches against someone who made every single one of them matter. There are players you beat and move on from, and then there are players who change the way you understand the game. Andre Agassi was that player, and I do not think any of us who competed against him fully understood what we were experiencing until it was gone.